United with Christ. Meet local churches with open doors serving throughout the Border Valley community and sharing the truth and hope of God's love and salvation. A presentation by KSCE Channel 38 Christian Television. And now, United with Christ.
Good morning. My name is Maritza Hernandez, and I am with CPS, which is Child Protective Services. Thank you once again for having us here. We were here last week. My guest last week was Oscar Millan with the World for Children, which is a child placing agency. And thank you to the TV station for having us here. They opened their doors to us, to CPS, and I'm very, very grateful. I'm eternally grateful for this opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my guests and introduce the topics, but first let's start with the prayer. Let's bow our heads. Thank you, Lord, for having me here. Thank you, Lord, for having my guest here. I really appreciate Sandy, my guest, and Lord, I want to reach out to all the clergy that are listening or watching us. I want to reach out to the people in El Paso to contact CPS and to partner with CPS. And you know, we ask you this, Lord, and I ask this in the name of Jesus. I pray and I ask, amen. Well, thank you once again for having me here. I was told earlier that I will be doing United with Christ in June, and I'm very excited. I'm very passionate about the faith-based program. The faith-based program is unique in the state of Texas. We are the only state in the nation with the faith-based program. And basically what it is, it's connecting the faith community to the child welfare system. And we were told, I think in January of this year, that the state of Kentucky is trying to replicate our program. And the faith-based program is very successful in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Austin. It has not been so successful here in El Paso, and I guess because El Paso is just very different than the rest of Texas. But I want to make it successful, and I want to make it successful because of the children that we serve and the families that we serve. It's not for me, it's not because, you know, of CPS or anything like that. It's just to give glory to God and to be able to help those children that are in need and be able to help those families in need, those families that we serve at CPS. And so the faith-based program is connecting the faith community with the child welfare system. And the state is going back to that mentality of, you know, who used to take care of the orphans and the widows and the children and the families, you know, 100 years ago. 100 years ago, it was the church. It was not CPS. It was not the state agency. CPS came into existence about 40, 50 years ago. And so it wasn't really us. It wasn't the state. And so the state is committed to seeking the assistance of the churches to end the crisis that we have. We have about 30,000 children in foster care in the state of Texas. We have about 4,000 children available for adoption in the state of Texas. We have about 46 in El Paso waiting for adoption. And so last year we did I did the United with Christ programs, and last year I invited Pastor Eric Hallback to be one of my guests, and he mentioned this, and it really resonated in my mind. If one family would come forward in a church, in 4,000 churches in Texas, I think Texas has about 20,000 churches, but if 4,000 churches, one family in the state of Texas would come forward, we would end the crisis of those children waiting for adoption, because we do have about 4,000 children waiting for adoption. And so that really resonated in my mind. And so, you know, I call pastors, I call clergy all day long, and I have visits with pastors. And you know, one question that's really asked is over the phone, does this consist of money? Does this involve money? And it really isn't. You know, it's not about money. It's about the relational part of it. And, you know, churches can help in so many ways, in such a variety of ways. They can help even, you know, helping us with prayer. I have a church in Horizon, and I send the pastor, Pastor Garcia, I send him a picture of a child that's waiting for adoption. I send him a picture every month through email. And so his congregation prays for that child, that we find a forever family for him. And so every month I send him a new picture. And so every Sunday service, they pray for that child. They pray for CPS, that we find a forever family for him. And so, you know, it could be prayer. There's a variety of ways to help. And so, you know, one way of helping is, and this is the easiest way to help, churches can connect or can activate their church through the care portal. I mention it in every program because it is important to me. I love the concept of the care portal. Let me explain it to you briefly. We have about 24 churches connected to the care portal here in El Paso. The 24 churches that are connected are all Christian and Baptist churches. We want to seek the assistance of the Catholic Church in El Paso. The Catholic community is huge in El Paso. It has a huge influence. And so we want to, I think I Googled a few months ago, how many, what was the percentage of Catholics in El Paso? And I think it was about 90%. And so I want to seek the assistance of the Catholic Church to be involved and to partner with CPS. Well, let me go back to the care portal. The care portal, very basic. We ask churches to obtain a POC, a point of contact person, someone that's going to receive an email. Once the church registers in the care portal, that POC is responsible for receiving an email. And it's very, very basic. A worker goes into a home, identifies a need for a family, and submits the request through the care portal. That email goes to the 24 churches enrolled in the care portal. And it could be for a used item. And I always mention used. It could be a used crib, a used mattress, a used car seat, something that is used. And I love the concept of that because we're not asking churches to purchase items, you know, take away from their budget to go purchase items. No. And so that email that the worker submits, it goes to the 24 churches enrolled. If the church is not able to meet the need, the church ignores the email. But if the church is able to meet the need, the church responds to that email goes back to the worker. We were making the worker responsible to pick up the item at the church. We're changing things, you know, as we go along with the program. The program started in 2015. And so as we go along, we're making changes. And we're seeing that in other areas of Texas, if the family goes and picks up the item at the church, the family found a connection to that church. Maybe she found the pastor, maybe someone prayed for that family. And so the concept of the care portal is if churches are able to meet the need is because churches relayed the information to the church members. I myself attend Harvest Christian Center on the west side with Pastor Ed Lee. And so the concept of the care portal is not for the church to purchase items. We're not asking the church, take away from your budget, go purchase a crib for a family. No. Just relay the information to the church members, and the church members may donate it, or they may have it and they want to get rid of it. And so that is the concept of the care portal, which I truly, truly love. It is an online tool for churches, and it is free to the churches. Okay? And with me today, my guest is a very special guest to me. She never says no. Thank you, Sandy, so much for coming over and for being here with me. Her name is Sandy Moody, and she's from CASA, and she can give you additional information about CASA.
Sure. Thank you so much, Maritza.
Yes.
You know I always come and want to share whatever we can and really help and take care of the kids that are here in El Paso and across the state of Texas,
Yes.
but more so locally here in El Paso. So what CASA does is CASA is the court-appointed special advocates, and what we do is we advocate for the needs of children that are in the foster care system right here in the county. Our folks that actually do the advocating are volunteers. They are folks just like yourselves, maybe watching today. Maybe you work full-time, maybe you work part-time, maybe you have a couple of children of your own at home, and you feel the call to help out in some way, just like with that care portal, or maybe within the church, or maybe you want to be a foster parent. That's a whole nother story. However, we're always looking for good qualified volunteers. Folks that are at least 21 years old can pass an extensive background check, attend our 30-hour training class, and commit to us for at least 18 months because, as Maritza will tell you, sometimes those courtroom cases where children are removed, those cases last 18 months, sometimes maybe a little longer, a little shorter, but we really want you to be able to know the child, be that constant in that child's life, and visit with their foster family, maybe visit with their teachers, their doctors, maybe their school social worker, anything like that, and gather up information and give it to the judge based on what you feel is in the best interest. Now, I always have to remind folks that that the judge makes that final decision based on what is to happen with that family. Sometimes the children go back to mom and dad, which is what we want to happen. We know studies show that kiddos do much better in their natural environment. And so we want to try to return those children to mom and dad after they've made some good positive outcomes with some of the issues that they may have. And some of the issues that they may have, homelessness, maybe mental health issues, drugs and alcohol, things like that. And so we really want to give them the tools. CPS will help them do that to be successful parents. And we want to return those kids to mom and dad. However, it doesn't always work that way. And sometimes the judge will make the decision to terminate parental rights. And that's where the 46 or so children from El Paso County, that's there free and available for adoption. And I believe you can find them. You can reach out to CPS if you have it in your heart to maybe take an adoptive child, maybe adopt a child. And I also want to put a plug in for that program as well, because some of our children that are in care that are available for adoption are older. And those kiddos, they really need care as well. They need a family. Even if they're 14, 15, 16 years old, they need somebody to call when they turn 18. Maybe
Correct.
for a broken heart or something, or maybe they want to do laundry, or maybe they just need somebody to support them and tell them that they're doing good things and support them maybe to go to college or to a trade school or maybe to the military, something after they turn 18.
Correct.
So,
And
that's
I'm very,
important.
and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm very, very glad that you mentioned that. There is a misconception, and then they say, CPS, they snatch kids in the middle of the night and they don't return them. That is incorrect.
Right.
We are mandated to return the children home. Most of the time they do. When it is impossible, then those children become legally free. And another misconception, and you touched on it right now, it is up to the judge.
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
It's not up to CPS, and so that's a misconception.
Right.
It is up to the judge. The judge will make the final determination on that case.
Yes. And I feel like that's so important with CASA as well, making that final determination, no matter what we present for the court. CPS has an attorney, mom and dad are going to have an attorney, the child has an attorney, or children involved have an attorney. And so it's very important that the judge has all that information from all of those people so that they can make a decision. And sometimes the judges agree with us and sometimes they don't. But I feel like our connection with Child Protective Services and our volunteers at CASA, we give the judge the information that we can, and we do the best that we can with the information that we have, and it helps the judge, I think. So,
and I know you mentioned in other programs, and when I have seen you in other settings, that CASA is the constant. Right, for the child.
Right.
Do you want to elaborate?
Sure. Of course, what we're trying to do is be the one person that child can see all the way through the court. So for 12 to 18 months, it's that one person, because sometimes it's the initial trauma that the children experience when they are removed from care. And then they're going to a foster home where they don't know who the parents are. They don't know any other children in that home possibly. And maybe they have a brother or sister, and maybe they're not placed with their brother and sister. And so that's very challenging and very hard for them.
Yes.
But sometimes, placements break down. We know that. Sometimes it's just not the right fit for a child, and a child is moved again. And so we want to have that CASA there so that child knows that they can look for that one face. They may not know the name, but to look for that one face of that person through all of those changes. Sometimes caseworkers change at CPS. So that kind of makes it a little more challenging as well. And so we just really want to be that constant for that child and just kind of look out for them.
Yes,
just,
that's wonderful.
Just be there.
Yes, that's wonderful. You want to mention your name, your location, your phone number, and then maybe some requirements?
Sure. So again, my name is Sandy Moody. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator at CASA. And I've been with the organization for over 2 years now, but I started as a volunteer. And we had our offices in the courthouse, and then due to abuse and neglect of children, our offices expanded. And so we ended up at the Wells Fargo building downtown, up on the 15th floor. And so now we have a much larger area that we can train our volunteers. Our volunteers can come in and use our phones. Maybe they need to do some research and they don't want to do it at home. They can come to the office anytime. And so we're on the 15th floor, and if you want to reach out to us, you can check us out on our website at www.casaofelpaso.org, or you can give me a call at 915-225-5214, and my direct extension is 109. You can leave me a message because I'm not there right now, because I know you're picking up the phone. Because you want to help. And maybe your capacity to help is foster care, or maybe it's CPS, or maybe it's CASA, or maybe it's a donation of something through your church, through the care portal, or even a donation right over to 501 Hawkins Boulevard at the CPS office. And, like Maritza said, it doesn't have to be new. Gently used. Kids grow out of clothes pretty quick, and most of the time they don't ruin them. I have a 4-year-old. I buy sneakers every month because he's very coordinated, but he has trouble walking because he's so excited about things, and so his shoes get ripped up. So I won't be bringing those by because they are totally demolished. But anything, maybe gently used clothing. Maybe if you had a child in your own home, maybe your own child, and they're potty trained, and you've got a box of size 5 diapers. Bring them on over to CPS. We've got the rainbow room, and
we got the rainbow room, and we got the rainbow room, which is basically a huge closet that we have at CPS at the CPS building, and we have all kinds of items there. We have hygiene kits, we have diapers, we have clothes, socks, we have plenty of stuff
and
there.
I think toys too, right?
Yes, and we got toys and jackets and so forth. And so, yes, our main office at CPS is at 501 Hawkins. We're almost in the corner of North Loop and Hawkins by the Valle Verde campus, the El Paso Community College Valle Verde. And you know what? I have not mentioned my phone number, and I really want to mention it. My phone number is 915, and I want to give out my cell phone because I'm in and out at the office. And so I prefer for people to contact me on my cell phone. I tend to answer the phone all the time. I'm guilty of that, even on weekends. And so my phone number is 915-309-3595. Once again, 915-309-3595. And you want to mention some of the requirements?
Yes. So the requirements to become a CASA volunteer: you have to be at least 21 years old, pass an extensive background check, and that's a fingerprint background check and a Child Protective Services background check. And we do that because we don't want our children to be abused and neglected any more than they already have been. And so we really strive to make sure that we have good folks that really have the children's best interest at heart. We also have a 30-hour training, and our training is very intense. I'm not going to lie. I took it. You hear stories about things that are happening here in the community, and sometimes it's very hard to hear those stories when you're kind of living in your own bubble, and that's kind of how I put it. At the time that I took the training, I was by myself, and my husband was deployed, and I had a cat, but I had a roof over my head, clothes. I had always had plenty of food. And I wasn't being abused and neglected. And so hearing those stories sometimes is a little bit challenging. And so with that 30-hour training, we have folks come in from CPS, from Crime Victims Compensation, to talk a little bit about that. Also, we do courtroom observations, which is a great way to kind of get your feet wet and see what's going on in the courtroom before you even get there. Because I don't know about you, but the first time I was in the courtroom, deer in the headlights, it can be intimidating. And the courtrooms that we have downtown, sometimes they're very hard to hear in the acoustics, so it makes it very hard to hear, and then it's just intimidating. And I'd never really been in a courtroom. So that helps as well. And then that final day of training, we talk with you about our policies and procedures, things that CASA is not allowed to do, things that we allow CPS to handle, such as rides for the family, referrals to drug and alcohol places, things like that. So we talk about all of that, plus our confidentiality. And I want to mention that because sometimes folks are very concerned with confidentiality. I mean, families are involved with CPS. Sometimes it's families that other families know. And we want to make sure that our kiddos have the utmost privacy, and we respect that. And so we talk about that a lot. We talk about having a CASA volunteer supervisor, and that's the person that helps you kind of navigate kind of how everything goes with the case. And so we assign you a CASA volunteer supervisor, and then we assign you a case, and you get to read that case and really kind of sink your teeth into it and really see how you can help those children and just be there for them. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell, but there's more information on our website about our training and about our application process, and our applications on our website at www.casaofelpaso.org, and you can just click on volunteer, and right there will be our application. Everything's digital, which is a little bit easier for me. Now we're kind of coming up into the new century. So
we had a summit last year in June in Dallas, and one of the pastors there mentioned CASA, and he's like, when I first heard of CASA, I was like, what is CASA? Is that a house in Spanish? And he's like, no. Then I realized it was court-appointed special advocates.
Yep.
And so you advocate for the children in court.
Right.
And you report back to the judge.
Yes. And that's it's pretty simple. That's kind of how it is. And our volunteers give about 15 hours per month. So it's not when I was doing the volunteer work, I was working full time as well. So I didn't feel like it was really interfering with my work schedule. The only time it interfered with my work schedule was when I needed to be in court. And the communication that I had with my supervisor, it was okay.
Yes.
As long as I was talking to him and, hey, I'm going to be in court. My hearing starts at 8:30, which sometimes might start at 9:30 or whatever. It could take 5 minutes. Maybe it's going to take 2 hours. We don't know. But that communication is good. And so during that 12 to 18 month time frame, maybe you'll give 15 hours per month, maybe. And that's enough for a kid.
15 hours is not overwhelming.
No, and you can see them on Sunday or see them on Saturday, or maybe they have visitation with mom and dad and you can observe visitation and you can see them there. So there's a lot of opportunity for after regular business hours to visit the children.
That's true. That's correct. And I go back to mentioning the faith-based program and seeking the assistance of the clergy to partner with CPS. And I want to mention this. I know we have a few minutes, but sometimes churches say, can you come in on a Sunday service? Can you be here outside in the lobby, set up your table and recruit families in the church to become adoptive parents or become foster parents? And I say, Yes, I work a lot of weekends.
Me too.
I work a lot of weekends, and so I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. I can be invited to your church and just set up a little table there outside in the lobby and recruit or speak about the foster and adoption program. And I mention this because I know you are an adoptive parent.
I am.
And do you want to talk about that?
A little bit, yes.
Yes.
I'm an adoptive parent from CPS, and I brought my little boy home from the hospital when he was 3 days old. And I worked with his mom and dad. I got to know them very, very well because I wanted them to know that I was going to take care of their son. And so it was a little bit of a struggle, but totally worth it. He's almost 4 now. He's driving me crazy, and I just love him. I just adore him to pieces, and I'm very, very glad that CASA was sort of my gateway, if you will, to becoming a foster parent, because I'm not sure that I would have had enough knowledge about foster care and child protective services if I hadn't done CASA. And so it was like a gateway for me. Kind of weird to talk about it that way, but it has been the greatest thing. And at times it was challenging because I know CPS wanted to return him to his biological mom and dad. And they didn't. Mom and dad had some issues that they couldn't recover from. And so I don't fault them for that. It is what it is. And I'm glad to be my son's mom. And I do have a little relationship with his biological family, just to keep that window open when my son's 18, if he wants to, he's going to know the truth. And I'm very open with him on that. He knows that I picked him up from the hospital.
I'm glad.
I
I'm
tell
glad he
him
knows.
he was the only baby in the nursery. He was the cutest one, but he was the only one. And so, so he sort of knows at that age his capacity to understand exactly. And we'll sit down and talk to him about it. But, CPS is a great way to help kids in need. And if you happen to build your family that way, then that's how you build your family. And these children, they really need you, no matter what capacity. Like I mentioned before, if it's the care portal with your church, or maybe just speaking with your pastor about maybe having CPS come out or CASA come out, or maybe coming out together on a Sunday, just to give the information, whatever capacity you can give. We certainly appreciate it, because some can do the 24-hour foster care and some can't, and that's okay, because everybody has their place. So yeah.
We talked about that in our last session last week. Fostering is not for everyone. Yes, but I love your story. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And, I love your story, and I love, it's such a positive story. And I love it, and I always encourage you to speak about it. But yes, thank you so much for having us here. Again, my name is Maritza Hernandez. You probably have heard of me. I have called your church. And so my phone number, once again, is 915-309-3595, 915-309-3595. And you can contact me at any time. Like I said, I always answer my phone. Thank you so much for having me here. God bless you. Have a great weekend. Thank you once again.